talked to him. I didn't hear anything about it. I just tried to call him, but sounds like it was something kind of unexpected. What's up, Greg?
Ready to go, Mel, whenever you are.
Okay. Well, we can
Pull that out. We can actually get things going here. Birdie fan. You all right, Tommy?
sitting there.
Gotta get my eyes adjusted.
Okay, all right.
You know how it is.
I hear you, buddy. I know what you mean. Sometimes you might
You ever
not want
seen
to
anything like that?
just walk away.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be an alchemist?
No.
Hi, Lee.
I read that book a while
How you
ago.
doing,
I was
Lee?
gonna give it to Bill White.
Doing all right.
That's
My
about
feet
all.
on the ground, baby, I'm doing good.
Everything works out.
Should be a quick one tonight, sounds like. Sometimes.
Don't hold me.
It does everything. Just gotta.
Well, you do.
Gotta work.
And, you know, if you do that, never be rich, but you put some over your head.
Okay.
Mine does.
For me coming in here from outside.
Put me on the shelf.
Well, your chair.
That's because I got a room over there. I got me a spot. Up there don't mean I'm in there yet.
Yes, I'm retiring and
No, I got so much other stuff.
That's what that issue is. Okay.
Things I focus on.
I just like to enjoy it.
What? Okay. Okay.
Greg?
How do you want this signed? Or we just? Okay. And then- Okay. Okay, I'm just curious to make sure we do it right.
Everybody set? Like to open the December 16th City of Lawrenceburg Utility Service Board meeting. Roll call, please.
Board Member Tony Abbott is absent. Board Member Aaron Cook is also absent. Board Member Mel Davis.
Here.
Board Member Randy Abner.
Here.
Board Member Paul Seymour Jr.
Here.
City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
President Kelly Milan is absent. In his place will be President Mel Davis and myself.
Any announcements?
I just have one announcement. Due to some kids' games scheduled, as soon as this meeting is over, I'd like to be excused to go and attend those. If you don't mind.
Any other announcements? Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting? If so, I'll accept a motion to approve them.
I'll second his motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Committee reports, financial update. Colin?
So since it's an earlier meeting this month, we don't have the financials ready yet, but what we do have is the 2020 operating budget. We've taken the time to meet with all of you guys and kind of keep you in tune on the process. So I'm just going to go over high level what we've got in here, and then if you guys have any questions, I'll answer those. Electric for 2020, the total budget is $14,567,392.95, which is in line. It's actually a little bit down from 2019, but it's just in line with 18, 17, and 16. There's no real increases anywhere. A few lines, there's a little bit of a decrease, but overall, it's pretty much stagnant. We are able to cover this budget. We will have a surplus at the end of the year, a small surplus, so there's no issue with making sure we have enough money to cover this budget. Water is, the total budget is $1,681,875.95. And that is right in line, just like electric, with 19, 18, 17, and 16. There's no real increases anywhere. And beside each line item, you can see if there are any reasons for any increases or what those are. The same thing with the water budget. We are able to fund this budget and have a small surplus at the end of the year. Sewer, same story. We don't have any changes really. It's going to be a $3,135,661.45, which is just like 2019, right in line with that. We do have an increase from 18 and 17 due to some increases in sewer customers. So there's no real increase on anything. It's just an increase in the rate that we're charged from the sewer district. So
no changes in rates, just the addition of some customers.
yes. And that sewer budget, we will be able to cover that budget with a surplus at the end of the year as well. And the last one is the fiber budget. So the 2020 budget, we're proposing $472,828.21. As you can see, everything there is a 2% inflationary increase, and we also have an advertising budget to compete in the marketplace. This budget, it's hard to project the revenues because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what contracts we'll get. We don't know how many customers we'll pick up. This revenue projections at the bottom of this page, these are strictly based off of this month. We don't know what's going to happen next month, the month after that. So as it looks like a loss, but it could very easily change to be a net income. So
And a little more
This would
detail.
Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
This would include, or it will include customers as you bring them onto the
That's
fiber.
correct.
Exactly.
That's the
Yep.
point, is the volatility is a welcome volatility in the sense that, we're looking at 80 new customers for this last month being hooked up, which is an increase of almost 75% of our total customers. And so when we're increasing customers to that level, just like Riviera, we're finishing up Riviera right around the Christmas time. There's 258 homes there. That more than doubles our customer number, total of customers. And so it completely changes the whole revenue picture. We're really going to have to get the year under our belt to get a good baseline to kind of understand what those budgetary needs and concerns are moving into the next year.
Can I get one of you two to also touch on, I know you talked to all us about it, but can you tell the audience and the new people who are coming in how you explained to me about how we're gonna have less overtime and the reasons,
Yeah, so we looked at our budget and we looked at the years and precedents and set a budget that really is a substantial reduction in what we've had in the last year and a half. Still be able to fund that budget and anticipated putting $992,000 in the bank at the end of the year.
but you said you was gonna cut back on some overtime.
Yeah, the overtime that we were working was overtime that was really necessary to the projects that we had. So we had two really big critical projects. We had Intrapac,
yes.
Intrapac, which is a major customer of ours. It was really our first blush with the drilling machine. We had a substantial number of overtime hours there. We don't expect that kind of a project again. Even though that was a billable project, it still pushes those total numbers up. We also had the port project, which was a $200,000 billable project that we did. And so we don't anticipate having those kinds of projects every year, Paul. We're a small community, small utility. We're fortunate to get those once in a while. I wish we had them every year.
But we did those with our own people.
We did those with our own people, correct?
That's what I want these guys hearing.
That's correct.
Yep. Yeah, so we don't expect that, so that's why on that electric budget, in the first line, the salary and wages, that Department 511, that's all of our linemen and our fiber techs. So that's why you see a decrease in that line item. So We went back to, the overtime that they were working in the previous years and based our numbers off of that, because we expect the usage rate of our overtime to be more aligned with 18, 17, 16.
Obviously,
So-
if a big project came up middle of the year, we're not gonna turn it down. But we'll have to come back to the board and have a discussion about the project and what it's gonna take in terms of capital and manpower and so forth.
Thank you.
Anybody have any more questions? I know we went over this with you guys, so we just want to, get your guys' input on everything and make sure that all the things that you want done are being done, so.
I think the key points to take away from this is we have a substantial reduction in electrical budget with still what I consider to be an appropriate net revenue at the end of the year, close to $1 million. Water, we can fund this budget. It's consistent with years in the past. Total net revenues after the operating year for the water is $19,000. That's not much of a buffer. I mean, one little thing goes wrong, a pump could cost $19,000, so we could easily operate in the black if something like that or the red if something like that were to happen. But that's what we've got budgeted. And we've got anticipated around $300,000 in the sewer, and this is with us funding all of our own depreciation, trying to finance projects ourselves, do projects in-house with our own financing. The one thing I will say is we are funding depreciation in all of these utilities. So we are successfully funding that depreciation. So in the event that a piece of equipment wears out or needs replaced, we will have the finances to replace those pieces of equipment without having to go to MDF or bond the money. So
I think we would need, I don't know if you would need the motion here or the motion in new business, old business.
we could take the motion here.
Okay.
Well, actually, we could bring it up under new business for a motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you guys don't have any more questions, that's all I have. Okay.
Get a digital copy.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Fiber update. Lucia?
With respect to the fiber, our key areas that we're working on right now are finishing up Riviera. That's hugely important for the customers there. We have several hundred homes there that need connection. Last time we spoke at the last council meeting, I gave you guys a estimate of end of year. We will be done with all physical construction and we can go ahead and start connecting homes. And we are on schedule to do that. A lot of the boring and the work is already completed. Now we're just waiting for them to finish up, and then we can go ahead and start connecting the customers at Riviera, which will be a huge boost to the revenue streams as well. Another big project that we've got that's nearing completion is the Lawrenceburg Event Center. So we've had fiber in that building for a couple of months, but they came back to us and said they wanted a full gigabit managed Wi-Fi system, and so that's being incorporated, and we meet with them tomorrow to finalize everything, and we hope to have them up and running by February with the wireless, and then they can go ahead and start selling to some of these larger pharmaceutical companies, tech companies, and other large facilities that want to come and stay and use the DoubleTree. So besides that, downtown there's really only one bottleneck here in the town, and it's right in front of our building, which is Center Street. The reason that we hadn't done Center Street on the other side of Walnut is we were going to have to tear down that whole street. We luckily have done some design changes, and we're going to go in the back alley so we don't have to tear up Center Street. I told the contractor that I needed that done as soon as he's done with Riviera, because there's customers that are waiting to get hooked up on Center. Other than that, they're working on Front and Main. That should pretty much take care of all of downtown. And then we still have some laterals up on the hill to build, and I anticipate all fiber construction within the municipal boundaries of Lawrenceburg to be completed within the first fiscal quarter, and then we can move on to just connecting customers and building our revenue base. questions, comments, concerns?
No, I do want to compliment you and Moosh's department of really 3 people, including himself. And like this LEC project with the event center, this is a several $1,000 project that we're been negotiating and working with them on that adds tremendous value to the community, tremendous value to the event center business, to people coming in from out of town, staying here at the hotel, eating at the restaurants downtown, doing those kinds of things. It's been a huge undertaking. Moosh has done an excellent job in
Thank you, sir.
championing that, and it's a great thing for us. We've also got a couple other contracts that we are in the process of negotiating with AT&T to be the main backhaul for a couple of the main towers that they have. Those kinds of projects are the kind of projects that we knew were out there, but we didn't necessarily put them in the financial model because they were uncertainties. But they're the kinds of projects that are going to bear a tremendous amount of fruit for the utility over time. And so we're excited to be able to work on those kinds of things and get those kinds of things accomplished, and they will certainly be keys to the success of the utility, the fiber utility.
Great, thank you, sir. And yeah, in particular, that the AT&T, because they will slowly be rolling out their 5G, they're going to need a lot of bandwidth, and that's just a great revenue stream for us. And if we can get, anytime there's a cellular provider that wants access to transport their signals, that's a gold mine for Lawrenceburg, and it doesn't hurt us at all. It doesn't cost us a lot to get those clients, and it's just a matter of it's jumping through a few hoops. And yes, sir.
Have you had any customers that have approached you about leasing dark fiber?
Yes. So one of them, and this was originally when I first started talking to Mr. Coppola over at the casino and the DoubleTree. They originally requested glass between the 2 buildings. It's hugely important for their AV team, but at that time they said no, we're not interested. So I met with their corporate folks on a conference call last week, and one of their IT folks at Hilton Corporate was like, is there any way we can get glass between the 2 buildings? I was like, yeah, that was like on our first meeting, we brought that up, and you guys said you didn't want it. So now they're saying, well, we want you to give us a cost estimate to provide glass between those 2 buildings so that we can potentially get it in our budget for next year. Right now, my goal is get the foot in the door, get their wireless up, make sure it works great so they're happy, and then push them toward getting glass. Because ultimately, like the event center is great, but the real cash cow is the casino, and that's who we want to sell bandwidth to. And all of these steps that we're taking are to get that bandwidth contract for the casino, because that's much greater than the hotel. But they want glass. So AT&T, because of how small we are and how new we are, they're somewhat hesitant to just purchase bandwidth directly from us. And that's what we've been negotiating with them. I told them, if we're too small and we're too new and you don't want to buy bandwidth from us, that's fine. But we'll give you glass from your tower to our data center, and then from there you can go to wherever you want and buy bandwidth. But at least we'll get the piece where, normally when we do a dark fiber, this is it's an IRU, and these are normally 20-year agreements. So whether it's the hotel or a cellular provider, these are long-term agreements, and so it's something that will sustain the utility for a great period of time.
Can you break that terminology down? When you say dark fiber and then glass?
Oh, when I say glass, I mean dark fiber, because all fiber optics is light shooting through a glass tube. So when somebody says, hey, I just want glass on bare metal, basically they just want the fiber, but they don't want electronics on either end. They will put their own stuff. All they're looking for is a path between their 2 locations, and they want that via fiber optics.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
From a network perspective, if you have glass between, say you have 10 different facilities, 10 different banks in town, and you've got dark fiber between them, from your network's perspective, it looks like it's in one building. So the perception is, from a network standpoint, it's in one location. You can handle business seamlessly as though you're dealing with one entity, one point.
The third place that they haven't requested it, but I've been trying to push them to it, is Civista Bank. They have 3 locations here. One's already fully connected. One we've got on 50 that's on my list of banks to connect. The third one is all the way up on State Line Road and US 50. I told them we can build to that, but then you got to buy glass, because then all 3 of those locations will seem like one for, because their headquarters are in Sandusky, Ohio. So as far as they're concerned, they can either pay for 3 different basically accounts at each bank, or they can just have one account with us, have glass between the 2 or between the 3 locations, and for them it's seamless and it's easy. And that's another area where they originally wanted to use transport for their provider, because because we're so new, a lot of these entities, they're somewhat concerned that what if we shut down in a year or whatever. But Civista Bank, they jumped on board and said, hey, we'll give you guys a shot, and they're happy with the level of service they're getting. So as soon as those other 2 banks are connected, well, I need to go back to them and see if I can get them just on leasing glass, because one, it's not a 2, 3, or 5 year agreement. This is a 20-year agreement, so then we don't have to worry about them for another 20 years.
I got a question. We've got electrical utility, sewer utility, and water utility. And it's pretty obvious that electrical utility department is our most profitable. Can you put into perspective to me what you expect out of the fiber compared to what we've got going on now?
Yeah, I'll take a run at it. Moosh could correct me if I make any mistakes, but in terms of sheer dollars, I don't know that the fiber utility will ever exceed the electric utility in terms of sheer dollars.
Okay.
But in terms of revenue and the amount of overhead it takes to generate the revenue, my expectation is the fiber utility will easily outpace the electric utility and all the others in terms of being most profitable. Everything that you do today, anybody that tries to do business anymore today, that everything you do it's all data. It's all ones and zeros. When we have a power outage, people can't even buy gas, because unless they got electricity, they can't charge that credit card, and nobody can take cash anymore. And so data is king. And especially now, you see entities like Disney Plus and Netflix and all these kinds of things. Every single company out there, including Disney, is going towards the fiber side, because these concessions that they had for cable TVs and these big conglomerates aren't making money for them anymore. The only thing that these companies need is for you as a customer to have a pipeline to your home to be able to stream the content. And so all these cable companies are going away now, and you're seeing everybody move to just wanting to stream. And so the only thing the customer's thinking about now is 2 things: the fastest connection possible for the least amount of money possible. And so that plays right into our business model. When we first started down this road, a lot of people thought that we should be providing content. We met with a couple of companies that could help us provide content, channels. And just for the market research that I did and that Moosh and others did, we knew that getting content on board was going to be a huge annual cost, with really no signs that it would be lucrative for us over time. And that, in fact, it probably would be something that we would regret getting into just to satisfy the few customers that wanted these channels. And so we did some initial kind of polling. We sent some of our employees door to door, did some canvassing, and we really determined that people were pretty in tune with streaming content through Netflix and Hulu and Apple and all these different platforms. To help with that process, we're going to roll out a program that we invite anybody who wants to come into the utility office, and we'll teach them how to stream on their device, whether it's an iPhone or it's an Android phone or it's an iPad or it's a laptop computer or it's their TV at home. We'll teach them how to use those devices to stream content to their home. And we offer that, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but we have a demographic, we have a section of our customer base that are slightly older, and this whole streaming thing is it's foreign to them. They don't understand it. They don't really get what it's about. And so we're going to do that as a way to help educate the end user as to how to use our service. And in the end of the day, we'll save them a lot of money, and they'll be able to get all the things that are important to them and have an improvement in their lives. Moosh?
No, I agree with everything you said, and I know there are a lot of elderly folks that want TV, but at the end of the day, it's a dying business. Like, we've done TV networks in other spots, and every year when I did the financial projections, we lost a little bit at the beginning, and then every consecutive year we lost just a little bit more money than what we lost the year before. And so it's just like, there's a reason why the big networks are dumping their TV stuff too. It's because it's dying. Like, nobody watches regular TV. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw a commercial. Like, if I had to watch a commercial, I'd be very annoyed at this point.
And there are people like, for example, DirecTV. DirecTV has Direct Now, which all you need is a high-speed internet connection, and you can watch all the channels that you want to watch. And when you get YouTube Red and some of those other things, you get some local channels with those. And so our way to help this out is to help educate the customers. Educate the customers as to what things they're interested in, show them how to use those tools that they have at their disposal, Fire Sticks and other things like this, so that they can have content in their home that they like to watch. And if you were to talk to our fiber customers, they'll probably tell you that they're saving on average $100 a month. And I got some heads nodding here, and that's on average. You know, I know what I pay at my house in Aurora, and it far away exceeds the $76 we charge for gigabit speed. I want to say we pay about $180 a month, but that's real money. If you can save somebody $100 a month at their home on their utility bills, you know, some of the houses around, that makes the difference between how much the kids eat at home and what they have to spend on other things that are important to their family.
Well, as a citizen, as a councilman the last 4 years, I just want to tell, you know, Olin and Moosh especially, thanks. There's been people in Lawrenceburg for 20 years now anticipating how that Lawrenceburg's going to, you know, boost their income and take care of themselves after the boat leaves. And if it wasn't for Olin Clausen and bringing in guys like Moosh, this idea on the fiber would have never happened. It just wouldn't be here in Lawrenceburg. So the one thing I want to, you know, thank the other council for was for backing this, and I hope that the new council coming in here stands behind him 100%, because I believe that this is one big deal for Lawrenceburg. It really needs to have the backing, and it creates, you're able to hire people that work, make a good living, they can buy houses, raise a family on the wage. People are saving money. I know myself, I'm on it. It's definitely saving me and Regine $100 a month plus. A lot of people are waiting for it. You know, keep up the good work the next 4 years.
Thank you, sir.
You've been doing a good job.
Thanks. And
Do we know, Moosh, when we will break even? How many years out until we break even and start making a profit?
well, starting next year, I'm thinking by like as soon as the contract so right now we're about 5,000 the red every month. That contract with the casino alone or the hotel and event center, that alone will put me in the black. And even if we get my projected 30% take rate at Riviera, which I know we can get probably closer to 50-60%, that's going to be profit on top of that. Now, obviously, I still have some equipment and stuff to buy, and there's a few things that I would really like to build a secondary protection ring. You know, all those things cost money, but I want to do it in a systematic way where we're using revenue that's brought in rather than requesting funds. But as far as I'm concerned, it's full steam ahead and just try to connect as many customers. One thing that I have not really dove into, and it's something that's going to be an issue, or not so much an issue but a bottleneck, is we have a lot of older apartment complexes with essentially archaic wiring. And so I need to work with the building owners to see, you know, what kind of compromise we can do, because certainly the utility is not paying to do inside wiring on a lot of these buildings. But their existing copper lines just, they're not good enough to give the kind of throughput that we need. So I know there's one apartment complex that's right by where I live. It's called the Elms, and it's right on the corner of Elm and Williams. It's so I've looked at various ways to do that, and including reaching out to not only the manager but the business or the building owner. And this is the thing that I'm concerned about. The building owner basically told me that he'd love for us to do whatever we can, but he doesn't want to put a penny into it. So at some point, like, is it worth my time to do that building if he's not going to chip in, because that essentially takes our whole revenue stream. If I have to put in $5,000 to do a building that has a dozen customers, like how long? And these are going to be most likely the smaller end customers, the ones that are buying the $20 service. Is it worth it for me to wait 10 years to get a payback out of that building? That's the kind of things that I have to sit down with you guys, with Owen, and with the accountant Colin, and say, okay, like, what is the best approach? Because, you know, we're a for-profit business, and I want to make sure that, especially as this is a new utility, to me it makes more sense to go after some of the bigger industrial customers. But at the same time, I don't like. There's a lot of people that live in Lawrenceburg that they deserve fast internet just like anybody else. And so that's where we're looking for a direction from the council to see, okay, how are we going to do these? Because clearly that business owner or building owner, he doesn't want to put a penny into his building, even though it's going to not only increase the value of that building, but like he's getting it for free. Like, that doesn't make sense to us. So that's something to think about. How the problem is, there's a lot of apartments in Lawrenceburg that need to be taken care of, and I have a feeling half of them are going to be in that position where
You'll have to go case by case, I guess.
yeah, and that's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, and then our way of dealing with them are on the ones who don't want to invest in infrastructure. We're happy to put, internet access points outside the building. And so people will still have wireless access to it. It's not going to be a super fast speed. It'll be, speeds enough that the things we talked about. They can download job applications, do homework assignments, things like that. It'll be a benefit to them. But, Riviera is really doesn't compare to those apartment complexes because those are private ownership. There's stability there, just like there's stability there for Riviera to make that investment. There's stability there for us to make the investment as well. And when we have a high churn rate in some of the other locations, that churn rate is literally exposure. It's risk for us.
Right.
And so right now, being a new utility, we have to be very careful in how we, what we're willing to risk.
Yeah, the key is to mitigate that risk, but at the same time, try to help as many people as possible and get, at the end of the day, like, the more people on the network, the better off everyone is. No. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
New business, Olin Clausen, Greg Nybarger, Flaherty and Collins Electric.
Before I address the contract, I wanted to just say thanks to you. I drove down here in some weather, and I'll be driving back some worse weather, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to talk to you guys one more time and say thank you for the opportunity to serve you and work with you. I think one of the things I told you guys is you guys had your charge was to leave the utility better than you found it. I think you all did that. You've got a new fiber utility without any debt. Pretty amazing. I understand you may be in a little in the red, but you're going to pop out of that pretty soon. Your utility overall went from red to black in your term because you all worked together. Don't get me wrong, I understand you all had different positions, but when it really counted, all of you got together and you made things happen. You also incentivized a stalled development of 18 years to completion by using the utility to help incentivize them to get it done. And now Riviera is coming to completion. It'll be done very soon. You guys did that in your term. And you've also provided new service, some large customers, if you will. You've got the Intrapac, you heard that. You've got the new port, and you've got what we're going to talk about tonight, which is Flaherty and Collins. So, you met your charge. I appreciate it. It was fun to work with all of you, and I look forward to seeing you as the new year rolls around in one way or another. So let's get to the business at hand. In front of you, you have a contract. You might recognize that contract because it looks a lot like the Riviera contract we had, where we incentivized them to complete the development by putting forth the infrastructure, but making sure that you didn't have a stranded asset. It's important for utility of your size. So the same thing's going to happen with Flaherty and Collins under this contract. You guys are going to put the infrastructure in, and they basically have 3 years to get a number of electric meters turning out there. And if they don't, then you're going to get a percentage return of the infrastructure that you installed. So under this contract, you go in, you make the investment. They have 3 years to get meters online to give you a good return on your investment. And if they don't, then you're going to get some money back. So that's kind of what we did with Riviera. The only difference here is there's a percentage marker in there. So if they got 50% online and we want 50 of 100 and we wanted 100, then you get a 50% return. So here's what I would ask. First thing, I'm gonna go through what I'd ask for you guys to do, and then I'll take some questions. So in the contract for electric extension agreement I have before you, here's what I'm gonna ask you guys to do. I'm gonna ask you to move to approve tonight the utility service board. I'm gonna ask you to, in that motion, also recommend that it be signed and approved by council. And I'm gonna recommend that you move to allow Olin Clausen to sign this agreement on behalf of the utility, LMU. And then after that, hopefully when you're in council this evening, one of you could raise it as new business and pass it and get it into the public realm so I can get it back to Flaherty and Collins and they can get underway. I'll tell you that they're excited and they're eager. And right now, we work through this agreement. They're very cordial and civil, good business people, and I think it's our charge to get this contract back to them. So that's what I recommend. Any questions from anyone?
My only question would be, you guys have obviously worked on this together. You're good with it?
Yeah, we've had several back and forths. As Greg mentioned, we had Riviera, which I think it stalled out for a period of about 18 years. And so we had quite a few back and forths between them, generated some contract language that kind of reset the calendar for them, gave them a couple of years to produce, get some things done. If they didn't, there were substantial payments back to the utility they would have to make to help us recoup the initial investment we made to get power there in the first place. So we pulled from that contract, tweaked a couple things in terms of percentages back to Flaherty, and had some, 2 or 3 back and forths with them. I am very comfortable and confident with the language that's before you tonight. Obviously, they are as well. So I would ask that the board have a motion to support and vote in favor of this contract.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion, we move forward.
I'd like to second that motion.
Does that include the ability of Mr. Clausen to sign on behalf of the Utility Service Board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
And I would just ask, thank you, first of all, and I would ask that even though I've got some games to go to, if this could be brought back up in the Common Council
Yes.
and ratified there as well.
Yeah. And we'd have to bring it up at another meeting. It's not on the agenda for council tonight, and we'll just do it in January.
Okay, yeah, do you know when that meeting is? I just want to report back to them.
It should be January 6th.
January 6th?
That sounds right.
Okay.
Okay. I will report back to Flaherty and Collins that this will be coming back up before the council on January 6th.
Thank you.
Thank you again, all of you. Appreciate it.
Greg, before you sit down, me being me and trying to clear up all of my broom closets before I exit this evening, are your payments up to date from the city?
There's only one that has some outstanding invoices. It's on the state court appeal, and I had a conversation with Dell right before this.
Okay.
So I think we're
So you've
moving,
got,
I think
you-
we're moving
you
in the
two
right
are
direction.
conversing about that?
Correct, correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Because the last thing I want to do is send a lawyer home broke, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Mr. Clausen, IT tech and / control service man?
Yeah, so we have a job. We had a journeyman lineman who quit us and went back to Richmond, Indiana. He was from there originally, married, had a home there, a couple of kids, and came to me and said that the commute, he hadn't bought a home down here, he was in the process trying to buy a home, and came to me and said his wife just couldn't get her arms wrapped around it and that he was going to resign and go back to Richmond. He was a great employee. I hated to lose him, but we lost him. And so in looking at that, we, instead of just replacing that position, looking at what the business is in need of, I'm recommending and asking for approval from the board to, instead of hiring a control, or a journeyman lineman in that position, to go ahead and hire an additional IT control serviceman to help us on the fiber side with the connections to the homes. That is a bottleneck for us. I've had several meetings. This isn't a knee-jerk reaction. I've had several meetings with Mike Harper and the staff, talking to them about what our needs are going forward. This is the need that we have, and so I'm asking for permission to hire an additional person into that position and not hire so we're not talking about the total numbers of employees will not change. They'll be the same, but not hire the journeyman lineman, give that position up for the IT tech position.
That was a job that fella probably had for close to a year, wasn't it?
He was here for a little over a year. He was a journeyman lineman for Richmond for a period of 2 years before we hired him. He did his apprenticeship in Richmond, grew up in Richmond.
If it was a situation where you were asking for a new employee, I would ask you to wait, but under this circumstance, I do agree with you. I think we need to push the fiber. So I would like to make a motion that we let you move forward and, with your interviewing process.
First thing we'll do is, if it's approved, is we'll hang the bid for it to go in-house.
Okay.
So the city folks will have a chance for 10 days to bid on it first. Once whoever bids on this position, once those names come in, I'll sit down with each of them, talk to them about the position, try to ascertain what their abilities are, and if someone is appropriate for the position, we'll hire them. If not, we'll go outside the city.
Okay, so then if you was to hire somebody within the city, then obviously, then I think the city might look at replacing who they just lost within. So, okay. All right.
Well, I'm a little bit late for the meeting. I'm sorry for that. I had to work. But if this is for the fiber optics, then I don't agree with that, because I don't know what we're going to do with that fiber optics in the future. We still have a lot of money to put into it, and whether the city wants to put the money into the fiber optics or look at some other idea for it. So I'm not willing to hire no one else at this time.
Then Tony, you need to vote the way you want to vote. I made a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second his motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Board Member Tony Abbott.
Nay.
Board Member Aaron Cook is absent. Board Member Mel Davis.
Yes.
Board Member Randy Abner.
Yes.
Board Member Paul Seymour Jr.
Yes.
Motion passed 3-1. Is there any old business to come before the board?
We've got a guest tonight who just wants to talk with the council, express gratitude, being able to work with us, and excited about working with us in the future. Mr. Wilson, do you mind?
How you guys doing? So my name's Chris Wilson. I'm the Assistant Business Manager for IBW Local 1393. For those of you who don't know, IBW 1393 is the largest IBW in the 6th District. So our jurisdiction actually extends across the entire state of Indiana. We handle about 47 different contracts. We do a lot of municipalities. We do a lot of REMCs, but our large contracts are Duke Energy, Hoosier Energy, Vectron Gas. We do represent tree trimmers, water, electrical gas, so on and so forth. So been fortunate enough the last couple of years to be a part of your guys' Whiskey City Rodeo. Although there's one small niche that is kind of outside our jurisdiction. It's right here. It's 71's territory, but it is in our backyard. So I've had the great opportunity of being a part of your city. I'll be honest with you, I am not somebody who likes to go and visit places. I'm more of a doer, so I don't really like to go visit towns. But as I've endorsed your guys' place, this is one town that I would visit. Every time I come here, I feel very welcome. It's a great place. I enjoy having my kids come here, just walking through your downtown. It's pretty awesome. One thing I did want to talk about a little bit is there's hundreds of rodeos across this United States. But when we're talking about rodeos, we're not talking about bull riding rodeos. We're talking about lineman rodeos. It is something that has grown quite a bit over the last several years. I've competed. I'm a journeyman lineman 14 years. And I've been top 10 international lineman's rodeo. I won the entire Midwest for Duke Energy as an apprentice. And I can say out of the hundreds of rodeos in the United States, going out to the International Lineman's Rodeo where we compete every year. Last year we took first overall as an apprentice division. There's one rodeo that they talk about outside of the International Lineman's Rodeo, and that's the Whiskey City. So that's huge. That's a huge accomplishment. It's traveling very, very quickly, the news of what you guys have going on here. And the fact that we've tripled in size in 1 year, I just don't want you guys to lose fact or lose focus on what this could really be, because the timing, the location, where we're at, the resources that you guys have, and the city that you have, this thing could really grow exceptionally large. You're not only talking about, I don't know how many events you have where you sell out the entire hotel, the DoubleTree, but obviously this is one event that fills up pretty quickly. But it's not only that, it's what it's doing for the community aside from a monetary aspect. I know I personally wasn't part of the school, local schools that came out. We put some young kids on the polls, and we actually, I think, had 2 or 3 kids that might pursue it down the road. So it's letting kids know about things outside of college. I myself went to college. I went to IU Med School. I studied nuclear medicine. Hated it with a passion. I got out and got into line work, so I'm a little bit backwards, right? Spent all this college money and got into climbing poles, but college isn't for everybody. Not just because your grades aren't good, but it's just not the type of person that I am. So it's important for us to understand that there are jobs out there like line work where it's just like a college degree. You get a 4-year journeyman ticket, and that is just like having a college degree worth $100,000 a year with 100% job placement. Right now, as it stands, we got 41 open jobs out of the local, and that's average monthly. So that means I got 41 guys today I could put to work, making between $150,000 and $200,000 a year. So for us to be able to get that in your environment, get that in your community, it's great. And then we're also bringing a lot of great people in this area. I know that the vendors that you guys have brought in, they want to do more. The last couple of years they've stepped up. I know Buckingham's a huge vendor, and I think that can also help within your own utility, getting equipment for you guys and so on and so forth. So it's just exciting, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk to you guys today. I have no dog in the fight when it comes to this. I'll be honest with you, I'm 3.5 hours from my house. Olin asked me if I would be interested in coming down and talking. I said absolutely. So that's how much I believe in it, how much I wanted to just take a few minutes of your time. So I appreciate that.
Chris, before you leave, just to let you know that I used to be an assistant business agent with Local 71.
Okay.
So that's why this territory's here.
Good deal.
Okay.
I won't hold it against you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
And I was a journeyman lineman, then I went to college.
Okay.
So,
We did a little backwards then.
yeah, a little
flip-flop.
backwards. Well,
Yeah.
you can't climb poles for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different. I'm the youngest agent out of our hall, and I'll be honest with you, we've got a very different political environment that we're in today. And for me, I saw a lot of inadequacies, not only with the union, but with the companies that are going on. And I found myself complaining like everybody else was. But the difference for me was I grew up a little bit differently. So I found that when I was growing up, my grandparents used to tell me, quit complaining, do something about it. So for me, I put my money where my mouth is, and I took a rather sizable pay cut that's been a little difficult for me to swallow here lately. But we're doing some good things. We're making a lot of big changes. And
Well, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate that. Well, hopefully we continue to do a lot with you guys. I know my business manager couldn't be here tonight. We had some other arrangements. We got a lot of things going on, but he wanted to be here as well. We really believe in what you guys have going on here. So appreciate that time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I do know from the last 2 years, there's 3 confirmed kids that have gone on into the trades that have done so specifically because the interaction they had with our journeymen and journeymen from around the country. And so these are kids who grown up in this community, in this county. They're going to be going on to be able to make a living and have something, make something of themselves that might not have had the same opportunities in college. Not saying they couldn't have, but might not have. So it's, that's a great thing. Thank you, Chris. I did forget one piece of old business, Mel, and that's the vote on the budget.
That's what?
The vote of the budget that was discussed.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the budget for 2020 for the utilities.
I'll second his motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Comments from the audience? Okay, guys, we got to pay bills. So has everybody had a chance to look at those?
I'll make a motion, we get and pay the bills, pay the claims.
Okay. Moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Your Honor, if you would, I just would like to say that Greg mentioned earlier, I appreciate the opportunity to work with everybody that's sitting up here on this lecture. I know we've had some passionate debate, we've had some arguments, but I do believe at the end of the day, everybody sitting up here has the best interests of the city in mind, and they represent that affection for the community in the way they feel they need to, that best suits them. And so, who am I to take offense at that? I don't. And when I say that I appreciate everybody's effort, this is really a volunteer board in a lot of ways. And, you guys probably have other things you could do with your time that probably be a little more enjoyable. So I say thank you sincerely. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. I want to appreciate you for complimenting the city. There's been a lot of councilmen over the years trying to make decisions on making this city better, and I think there's been a lot of people do a lot of good things. It's good to hear. Good to hear you appreciate coming here.
Any other comments? Mr. Clausen? No, sir. As a former utility director, I want to compliment you and your crew. You've done a good job, and I certainly appreciate it. I think if the customers would think about it, they appreciate it too. So keep the lights on, keep the water running, and the toilets flushing. Any other comments? I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting closed.
Sticking around for another one?